Okay, so you're a professional, maybe part of a corporate team, and you're planning an extended stay out in Asia Pacific. It's exciting, right?
Absolutely. A dynamic region.
And you know the first steps. You got to sort out the logistics, find a place to live and work. A reliable service department, maybe a hotel for a longer stay, get that serviced office set up.
The essentials, finding that comfortable base.
Exactly. And for many, that feels like, well, the manageable part of the puzzle. You find a good provider, maybe someone like Move and Stay who specializes in this, and you get it sorted.
Right. That side feels controllable.
But then there's this other piece, second piece. And lately, it feels increasingly, well, disruptive.
Uh-huh. The regulatory side of things.
Yeah, the rules.
Yeah.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into some pretty big policy shifts happening in Southeast Asia. We're focusing on Thailand and Malaysia.
Two major hubs for expats and businesses.
We've looked at the sources detailing these major changes to residency rules, visas, and it's really reshaping the whole environment there.
And these aren't just small tweaks, are they?
Not at all.
Yeah.
We're talking about changes causing real anxiety, forcing people, professionals, long-term planners, to fundamentally rethink their security, their stability in the region.
That's spot on. And that's really our mission today, isn't it? For you, the professional, the entrepreneur, maybe the corporate team lead planning a deployment, we're not just listing the new rules. We need to explore what this bigger trend, this move towards, let's say, stricter governance actually means for your planning, for your security.
Right.
We've got to unpack this kind of friction where the government's need for bureaucracy and security bumps right up against, well, the appeal these places used to have for international business and talent.
It almost feels like a choice between two bad options looking at these two countries. Like, is Thailand aiming for death by 1,000 bureaucratic paper cuts? While Malaysia is going for more of a swift, high-stakes amputation, especially for certain investors.
Unfortunately, that metaphor, it kind of captures the feeling quite well. It highlights the different types of friction being created.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Let's start with Thailand. We need to talk about this policy revival that sounds, honestly, a bit ancient, but it's causing major headaches day to day. The TM30 reporting law.
Right, the TM30. It's crucial to get what it actually is because the name doesn't tell you much.
Okay.
So TM30 is designed to track where a foreigner is physically located inside Thailand, specifically when they're away from their registered permanent address.
So not just crossing borders, but moving around within the country.
Exactly. It's not your usual arrival or departure card at the airport. This law's been around for ages, really. The idea was to give the government a very detailed picture of where foreigners are staying, night by night.
And our sources are clear this law existed, technically, but enforcement was pretty relaxed for a long time, wasn't it?
Oh, very much so. For years, most long-term residents, expats, professionals, they barely thought about it. It wasn't really enforced consistently. Until recently?
So what's the requirement now? What's causing all this friction?
Okay. The requirement is, frankly, incredibly strict. And the time frame is tiny.
Basically, all foreigners, or importantly, their landlords, have to notify the immigration authorities within 24 hours of the foreigner returning to their registered home address.
Okay.
After any trip that took them outside that specific province. So that could be an international business trip, sure, but it could also just be a weekend trip to the beach in the next province over.
Wait, any trip outside the province? Even just for a night or two?
Any trip.
Wow, 24 hours. That is incredibly tight. Especially if you're traveling for work, maybe getting back late.
Exactly. We're seeing stories, people having to report multiple times a month, 10, 15 times even, if they travel frequently for business or just like weekend trips.
It turns just coming home into this mad dash against the clock to file paperwork.
That's the feeling, yeah. And this time pressure is where the real practical problems kick in.
Like the online system.
Precisely. There is supposed to be an online reporting system, but the sources we looked at, they're just full of complaints, technical glitches, system errors, websites crashing. So the digital solution isn't really working reliably.
Often not, no. Which forces people into that scenario everyone dreads. Long queues, hours spent at crowded, often under-resourced immigration offices.
Just for a 2-minute administrative stamp?
Pretty much. Burning valuable work time or personal time.
And there's another layer here, isn't there? Something specific about finding accommodation, like a service department or renting a house. The landlords.
Yes. This is a key sticking point. The law actually puts the legal responsibility on the property owner, the landlord.
Okay, so they should be doing the reporting.
They should, but in reality, many are proving very, very unwilling to do it.
Why is that?
Well, could be many reasons. They might lack the time, maybe they're not comfortable with the online systems, or they just don't want the hassle of dealing with immigration bureaucracy, which can be quite complex.
Right. So the burden just shifts.
It shifts entirely onto the foreign tenant, the professional who's renting the apartment who just wants to focus on their job or their life. They end up having to handle the compliance themselves.
And they bear the risk of the fines if a deadline is missed because the landlord wouldn't file.
Exactly. And the fines can be quite steep. So suddenly, on top of your actual job, you're also your own immigration compliance officer.
So even if I find the perfect serviced office for my team, get everyone settled in nice apartments, I now have to track every single provincial trip for every team member and make sure it's reported.
Potentially, yes. Or ensure each team member understands they have to do it religiously. It adds this huge administrative layer, a lot of friction.
But why? Why bring back this old, cumbersome law with such force now? What's the official reason?
The government line is security, better tracking of foreign nationals within the country.
Okay.
But business groups, chambers of commerce, they've been quite vocal in their criticism. They question how much real security a manual 24-hour reporting system actually provides in, the 21st century with modern surveillance.
Right. It feels outdated.
Many see it that way. They see it more as an administrative bottleneck that causes massive inconvenience, possibly disproportionate to the claimed security gains.
And I have to wonder, given how old the law is, predating modern tech, could there be maybe a revenue aspect too? Fines for non-compliance.
It's certainly possible that revenue from fines is, let's say, a welcome side effect for the authorities. It's hard to ignore that possibility. Yeah. But whatever the mix of intentions, the economic friction is real. You take this TM30 reporting, you add it to the existing 90-day reporting requirement that foreigners already have to do.
Right, the address check-in.
And then you factor in increasingly strict visa and work permit processes. The overall feeling among many expats is just exhaustion, administrative overload.
It makes long-term living feel precarious, doesn't it? Less stable.
Definitely. It raises the stakes for anyone planning long-term, whether individuals or companies deploying staff. And it could even start to subtly affect the rental market if landlords get spooked or tenants feel it's too much hassle.
And you have to think, this kind of bureaucracy, it probably doesn't help with Thailand's bigger economic picture, does it? Like attracting foreign investment, boosting tourism post-pandemic.
Probably not. If the operational headaches start to feel like they outweigh the benefits of being based there, it could make Thailand less competitive for attracting, that highly skilled global talent everyone wants.
Okay, so that's Thailand, the frequent small administrative cuts. Now let's pivot. Let's talk about Malaysia and the really quite dramatic changes to their long-term visa program.
Right, the MM2H, Malaysia, my second home.
This was a big deal, wasn't it? Very popular.
Hugely popular for years, especially favored by retirees, but also by investors and professionals looking for a stable, long-term base in the region.
What made it so attractive?
Primarily, it offered a relatively generous visa duration up to 10 years, and the financial requirements, while substantial, were seen as achievable for a fairly broad range of people. It felt accessible.
Okay, felt being the operative word.
Yeah.
Because the overhaul has been, use the word dramatic.
It really has been. If TM30 in Thailand is about tracking compliance day to day, the MM2H changes are about fundamentally raising the bar for who qualifies for long-term residency in the first place. It's about financial thresholds.
So how high did they raise them? You mentioned heightened requirements. Let's get specific.
Okay, the jump was staggering. We're not talking small increments here. The sources show the new financial requirements are multiple times higher than they were before.
Multiple times?
Yes. For instance, the minimum liquid assets you need to show increased something like 5-fold, maybe more in some analyses. You suddenly needed vastly greater personal wealth.
Wow.
And similarly, the required minimum monthly offshore income, the money you need to prove you have coming from outside Malaysia, also saw a huge proportionate increase, like 4 times higher or more.
Okay, that completely changes the target demographic, doesn't it? It moves from attracting, say, upper middle class professionals or comfortable retirees to almost exclusively high net worth individuals.
That seems to be the clear intention, yes. It's a strategic shift towards a much wealthier cohort.
And it wasn't just the money, right? You mentioned the visa length, too.
Correct. On top of the financial shock, they cut the maximum stay duration in half, from 10 years down to just 5 years.
So you need vastly more money for a visa that lasts half as long.
Exactly. The combination of those two things, The sky-high financial bars and the shorter stay essentially gutted the program's appeal for many people, especially those already living there under the old rules.
And the impact on those existing residents, that sounds brutal. Our sources talked about people who've invested life savings, bought property.
It's caused immense distress. Imagine planning your retirement, buying a home, maybe moving your family, all based on the understanding you had a secure 10-year residency, renewable under predictable conditions.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're facing renewal criteria that are completely unattainable for you. Your future in the country you chose as your second home is thrown into total uncertainty. It's a massive disruption to life plans.
It feels like a betrayal almost, breaking an implied promise.
That's how many residents described it, yes. A betrayal of trust. And what makes it feel even harsher is the timing.
How so?
These changes came after the MM2H program had already been suspended for a long time, partly due to the pandemic. So expats had already endured lockdowns, travel bans, maybe being separated from family.
Right, a tough period already.
A very tough period. They weathered that storm hoping for clarity, only to be hit with these new, often impossible requirements. It was a real shock after a period of limbo.
So the shift is clear.
Yeah.
From relatively welcoming, accessible policies to very stringent ones, focused squarely on attracting only the wealthiest and perhaps for shorter duration.
Precisely. A significant pivot in strategy. And you know what's really fascinating here is when you step back and look at both Thailand and Malaysia together, these two very different policy shifts, Thailand focusing on this hyper-frequent low-level reporting and Malaysia going for high-level financial exclusion, they actually seem to point towards a broader regional trend, don't they?
How do you mean?
Both countries, in their own ways, appear to be recalibrating. They're prioritizing things like security, strict compliance, maybe maximizing revenue per resident. And they seem to be prioritizing those things over the kind of administrative ease and openness to business that perhaps characterized the region more in the past. The balance is shifting.
So if we contrast them directly for someone planning long-term, in Thailand, the friction is operational. It's constant.
Yes, administrative turbulence, high-frequency issues, the daily reporting worries, the potential fines, the hassle with landlords, constant vigilance needed.
Whereas in Malaysia, the friction is more of a structural barrier, a financial wall.
Exactly. High barrier issues, those incredibly high income and asset thresholds, the shorter visa validity, and the very real possibility of being excluded entirely even if you were already there.
And the cumulative effect of all this, for professionals, for entrepreneurs, for corporate teams trying to plan deployments in the region.
It's profound. Compliance isn't just a checkbox anymore. It's complex. And crucially, it feels volatile. The rules can change dramatically quickly.
So more uncertainty, more red tape.
Definitely. It directly impacts your ability to plan long-term, to feel secure in establishing a stable base for yourself or your business in Southeast Asia. That established ease is eroding.
This really hits home for anyone needing that stability. Even if you use experts, find that perfect service department, get the ideal service office space locked down, all the logistical boxes ticked.
Right.
The ground underneath, the regulatory foundation, feels much less solid now. Highly questionable even.
That's the core message, I think. For anyone looking to set up shop or build a professional life long-term in the region now, you absolutely must build in contingency, regulatory contingency, financial flexibility.
Expect the unexpected, basically.
Pretty much. Assume policies will evolve, perhaps rapidly. The era of just assuming long-term policy stability in these areas, that seems to be over. What felt secure yesterday might be unaffordable or administratively impossible tomorrow.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this deep dive. We've seen that even when you can sort out the practicalities, find great serviced accommodation, get your workspace set up.
The logistics.
The logistics are often solvable. But the experience of an extended stay is becoming increasingly dominated by policy complexity. Whether it's that daily reporting paranoia in Thailand or the massive financial shift for long-term visas in Malaysia, these administrative hurdles are getting higher.
Absolutely. For professionals, for investors, maybe the biggest challenge now isn't finding the right flight or the right apartment anymore.
It's the rules.
It's the regulatory risk. It's needing to constantly watch the shifting sands of governance, needing to adapt maybe quickly. That historical ease of living or doing business long term, it's definitely being challenged by all this red tape and policy volatility.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting, thinking longer term. If this policy uncertainty itself, this feeling of instability, actually starts to act as a significant deterrent, if it puts off the very foreign investment and the skilled professionals, that these economies really need to stay competitive?
Right, if the cure is worse than the disease, so to speak.
Exactly. How long can these countries realistically stay on this course? We know policy shifts often get reviewed based on results, on data. So the big question is, what's the metric? What specific data point may be related to foreign direct investment flows or skilled worker visa application numbers dropping, what will eventually signal that maybe a course correction is needed? When does the economic cost potentially outweigh the perceived security benefits?
That is the critical strategic question, isn't it? What's the tipping point?
Something for you to definitely mull over as you navigate your own plans in the region. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.